Hey guys. All right. Oh, the lamp's doing something weird. I'm live from my classroom and it's empty and it's weird because there aren't kids in here. So let me show you around the room so you can see it has not changed. I've not changed a thing. Here are the chairs. I chose the green one because the green one. So I am in my classroom. I still have my St. Patrick's Day decorations up. I probably should put those down. But I never went to the dollar store to get Easter decorations. I probably should do that, even though we won't be back for Easter. I'll have them for next year. So if you're watching and you want to say hi, comment, make sure it's school appropriate, please. Comment, tell me how your day's going, what you want me to talk about. But our main focus today, I read a really great article this morning. And the article was about, it was actually called That Discomfort That You're Feeling is Grief. And it was written by Scott Berinato, and it was published in the Harvard Business Review. And hi, Haley. I miss you too. Hey, George. Great to see you guys. So I'm going to post the name of the article and the link to the article in the description after I'm done with the live stream. But it's a really great article. It was kind of long. And I thought, my kids probably don't want to read all this. So I read it and I wrote down some things that I thought were important. Hey, Jenny. So we'll kind of go through some things. If you have questions, if you want to chime in, I would love for you guys to respond, and I will try to pay attention to the chat part so that way we can chat while I do this. So have you guys ventured out otherwise, other than being at home? I haven't gone much of anywhere, but just school and home and school and home and school and home. But yesterday I had to go to the mall because we were trying to figure out our internet. We needed to upgrade our internet because it couldn't handle all of us being on the internet at once. So we had to go to the Spectrum store in the mall. And I wasn't sure what to expect because I hadn't been anywhere in 10 days. So I went into the mall. It was very weird. Most of the stores are closed. The carousel is stopped. There were a couple random track team members that were the track team members were running around the mall. They had cones set up and I accidentally kicked one of their cones out of the way. Like, oops. But they were running in the mall. I guess they got permission to practice inside because it was raining. But all the stores were closed except for the nail salon. The tattoo and piercing place is still open. You guys need a tattoo. And the Spectrum store was open. So it was kind of surreal. They still had the mall music playing, but it was just a Spectrum store. So in the Spectrum store, they took so many precautions. They had the door already propped up so that it opened, so you didn't have to touch the door handle. When you walked in, they had hand sanitizer right there. And then when you walked up to talk to the service person, they had tape on the floor. And I didn't see the tape at first. So I walk up and he's like, "Excuse me, ma'am, please step back behind the tape." So I had to stand behind the tape. And I guess that gave them at least 6 feet between me and them to to stand. But anyway, I was in and out of the Spectrum store in 2 minutes, and now our router still won't work at home. So we'll figure that out later today. But luckily, internet at school is working fine. So I'll use this internet. Oh my gosh, Wyatt dyed his hair purple the other day. George, you have 3 sisters? I thought you already knew that you had 3 sisters. How did you just find out? All right, tell Wyatt I'm going to need to see pictures of his purple hair. He's going to need you send them on my remind and show me his purple hair. My daughter has purple hair. So I'm a big fan. Other than going to the mall and the Spectrum store, we picked up takeout food from a diner near us. It was okay. I'm not going to mention the name because it was just, it wasn't the greatest food. And did we stop anywhere else? Oh, I ordered something on Amazon because my kids are super bored. So I ordered a dot-to-dot book for my son. And it's a dot-to-dot book that has like 500 dots, like 0 to 500. The whole page just looks like dots. But if you follow it really carefully, it becomes a cool design. So he really likes doing those. So I ordered them and it said that it was delivered. It was not delivered. So I couldn't figure out where it ended up. So I looked at our order. Turns out I mailed it to our old house. So we haven't lived there in 6 years, but I had to drive by the old house and ask if they had our packages, and luckily they did, and that worked out. But yeah, so be careful of what address you put on your Amazon packages. Um, wow, Wyatt is making good use of his free time. Piercings, dyeing his hair. Oh my goodness, what's gonna be next? A new tattoo, maybe? Those are more expensive. Okay, so let's see. Anything else you want to talk about before I get into talking about the article that I read? Um, I have to clean out the chicken coop this week. Not looking forward to that. It's going to be gross. And my husband's allergic to the dust that chickens create, so it's all my responsibility. That's why he can drive the lawn tractor and haul away the gross shavings, and I scoop all the shavings in. So, but I can't do that. It's too muddy today to drive the lawn tractor. Our yard is a mess, but it's going to be beautiful the next couple days. So, anyway, all right. I took some notes on the article. So the article that talks about the feeling that we might be feeling is grief. Talks about what to do with those feelings. And maybe you guys are feeling just fine. Maybe this is an awesome vacation and it's not a big deal, but you might find it even comes and goes. Like maybe you're fine 1 minute and then something just makes you sad, or I don't know, you're struggling. Maybe you find that you're struggling for some reason. You may not even know why you're struggling. So maybe it's grief. And the good thing about it is that if you can name it, if you can give your feeling a name, like, oh, this is grief, or oh, this is sadness, or oh, this is anger. If you can name it, then you can try to manage it. Until you figure out why you're angry or why you're upset or why you're depressed, it's hard to manage it and move forward. And there are different kinds of grief. Usually we think of grief when someone dies, but there are other kinds of grief that don't just have to do with death. I know, I missed the chickens too, Jenny. Sorry, I got distracted. The weather's going to be beautiful the next couple days, and then I will do my live streams outside with the chickens, which will add a whole other level of challenge, but entertainment, I'm sure. But when the weather's nice, I'll go outside. But right now it's so muddy, I don't want to be in my backyard. It's gross. It squishes when I go back there in my feet. So, okay, so the different kinds of grief. Right now, you may be feeling like the world is changing. The world has changed. That it's not the way it used to be. Even temporarily, the world has changed temporarily, and we're all looking forward to it getting back to normal. But until then, the world feels different, and that's very unsettling. So you could feel a kind of grief for the way things were and the way the world is. The loss of normalcy. You know, before we had a routine, you went to school, you went home, we did the same things all the time. You probably even got bored with how similar every day was and how this is just you wake up and you do the same thing. But that's just that sense of normalcy made life very predictable, and you know what to expect from 1 minute to the next. So now we've lost normal. Normal is out the window. So we have to create a new kind of normal. George, are you talking about Philip, the giant rooster? I think that's the one you're talking about. He's so big. He's a huge wuss, but I really love him because he's just so pretty. If Philip comes up to about my knees, actually probably a little taller than my knee. He's awesome. I'll make sure to get him on camera next time I do a live stream. He's really cool. I had to get rid of the rooster that was beating him up, though. I had a littler rooster that was beating him up and chasing him all around the yard. Poor guy. We need to get him some self-defense classes or something, teach him how to be tough. Okay. Another thing that you may be feeling is your family or you yourself may be worried about the economic toll that this is taking. How am I going to pay the bills? How are we going to get groceries? How are we going to keep the lights on? The worry about how this will affect your income and your bottom line. Maybe you have a business, maybe your family has a business that you're worried about. That could be a reason why you're feeling grief right now. Also, the loss of connection. This is the one I'm feeling the most. Um, the loss of connection with my students, with you guys. That's why I've tried so many different ways to get in touch with you guys, whether it's YouTube or Remind or Twitter, trying to reach out because the loss of connection is where I'm feeling my grief the most because I'm used to you guys stopping by my room every day and checking in with you, chatting, see how your life's going, see what's new, and you guys entertain me to no end. So I'm missing that. My poor kids are getting tired of me saying, entertain me, tell me a story, so they're getting annoyed with that. My son would be happy playing Fortnite all day long. And my daughter loves to watch YouTube videos and talk with her friends on her computer. So really, they were happy with me just leaving them alone. So they don't entertain me much. The chickens, I guess I've up to my chickens. My husband's busy playing the piano and riding his lawn tractor around. But anyway, but loss of connection. That's another type of way that we might be feeling grief right now. So are you used to seeing your friends at school all day and you're not seeing them every day? Um, Used to connecting with family that you may have gotten together before and now you guys don't host family get-togethers, or maybe you still are and you're just throwing caution to the wind. Um, Haley, you're having a hard time. Yeah, people are being pretty cruel. Are you talking about people who are being racist toward people of Chinese descent? Or are you talking about, what are you talking about in general, how cruel people are being? Because it's really not the Chinese people's fault. I know a lot of people want to blame them, but it's not their fault. And unfortunately, they're getting a lot of attacks, people being very racist towards them. And that is sad because this is a time we should all kind of pull together and help each other out because we're all going through this. That's the good thing, is that we're all going through this together. And it affects people differently. Some people may not be affected financially. Some people may still have their jobs. Some people may not. But we're all kind of in this boat together. So there is a collective grief in the air. That can be good and that can be bad. If you are the only one grieving, then you can go to someone else who is not grieving and lean on them for support. But what do you do when everyone is feeling the same way or similar ways or different ways, but everyone is going through this collective grief at the same time in different ways? So that's good and bad. The good thing is, usually if you talk to someone, they understand how you feel because they may be feeling some of the same things. Um, it can also be overwhelming thinking about so many people going through the same thing, but you know that you're not alone. None of us are alone in this, and we all are going to try to cope as best we can. Um, One main type of grief that people are struggling with right now is called anticipatory grief, as in anticipating something. Anticipatory grief is when the future is uncertain. So usually when you feel anticipatory grief is when, maybe someone in your family has gone to the doctor and they get a really bad diagnosis. Anticipatory grief is you are anticipating something that is bad is going to happen in the future. Um, so whether that's a storm coming, maybe people who live where there are a lot of tornadoes, anticipatory grief, you know that there's a storm coming and you worry about what's going to happen to your family and your house and that sort of thing. So we know something's coming. The problem is we can't see it. It's not like it's a giant wave heading toward us and we know just to get out of the way. This type of grief can be confusing to people because we know something bad's going to happen, but we can't see it. And just waiting for that unknown to happen can be very anxiety producing. It can cause a lot of anxiety. So the feeling of loss of safety, worrying if you go out of your house, am I going to get sick? Am I going to take that virus to someone else that I care about? If you the feeling of, well, I never before thought twice before giving someone a handshake, dapping them up, giving them a hug, and now that you kind of think twice before doing that. And also just imagining the worst case scenario. Anticipatory grief is you're worrying about it, what potentially could happen. All right, I'm going to read what Haley's writing. A lot of people are angry with how politicians have handled this. So you're not alone in that, Haley. And money is a big tricky thing right now. because a lot of politicians are arguing how best to handle this. And it looks like they're going to pass the stimulus package. I don't know if you guys have read about that. I don't know all the details, so I'm not going to speak about specific details, but the government is trying to find a way to use government money to help businesses, individuals kind of bounce back from this. So the idea behind an economic stimulus package is if you give people money, they will spend the money, which then will help the businesses, which then will help the government always gets their cut with taxes and that sort of thing. So if all of this goes through and it passes the House and the Senate and the president approves it, then some people could be seeing checks from the government. And the hope is that then they will either use that to pay bills or to buy whatever they need to buy. And that will help get our economy back up because our economy is going to take a big hit. Luckily, though, this is all temporary, hopefully, and we'll bounce back before long. But yeah, it can be very overwhelming. It sounds like you have a lot of anxiety about this, Haley, and I totally understand that. There are a lot of people that this is affecting really badly, and I'm lucky enough to be able to come to work every day, and still, well, it's not normal, but still be able to come to work and still get a paycheck. But not everyone is that lucky. I understand that. So, and we know that politicians are definitely money hungry. They love the money. I know. It's gonna be okay, Haley. It's gonna be okay. I know that's easy for me to say right now, but I'm always the optimist. I'm always looking on the bright side. We're gonna get through this. And before long, you'll be complaining about how you hate being in school and you don't want to be here. You would rather be home. We'll get back to that soon enough. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have heard of the stages of grief before. There are, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe 6 stages of grief. And the stages of grief that you go through, it's not a linear process. So you don't start here, go through these tiny little steps, and then end at the end, and then you're done grieving. No, it's not a linear process. You may start through the process and go to one stage and then go back and then start again and then go back and forth and then eventually work through your grief. And so I don't know what you mean, George. You want us to get back to doing business? Tell me more. So the stages of grief, denial. And a lot of people were in this stage of grief in the beginning. This virus is not a big deal. It's not going to affect us. It's not going to come to the US. It's not going to come to North Carolina. It's not going to come to even closer and closer. Eventually, you have to move past the stage of denial, though, because there's no longer can you deny that the virus is going to affect us locally. I'm glad your grandma still gets to work, Jenny. I know that takes a big weight off of her mind. So another stage of grief is anger. I'm angry that this virus is affecting us. I'm angry my stores are closed. I'm angry I can't go to the restaurant. I'm angry I can't hang out with my friends at the mall. Anger, I'm mad the school is closed and that I can't do what I want and that I don't have, my job's been cut and that sort of thing. So another stage of grief is bargaining. Okay, if we just do social distancing for 2 weeks, everything can go back to normal. That's another kind of bargaining kind of thing. So I'm not sure how long our social distancing will last, but I know we've all had those bargaining thoughts where, okay, if I just do this, if everyone would just cooperate, do social distancing, we'll get back to normal, just get back to normal quickly as possible. Another stage of grief is sadness. Just, I wish I could see my friends. I wish things would go back to normal. I wish I could travel. I wish, thinking of the things that you guys are going to have to miss out on, being sad about, especially senior things that were going to happen soon. Luckily, you guys already had your cap and gown photos, and hopefully everything will be back to normal before the end. But some things you may have to miss out on. My daughter's kind of a little worried right now because their musical they were going to put on at her high school may not be performed until this summer. So she's sad that she's missing out on the rehearsals that she enjoyed so much and the musical. So there's a lot. We're missing a lot of things we were looking forward to a lot. And then the final stage of grief is acceptance. And acceptance is an important step because acceptance is where the power lies. Power lies in acceptance because in acceptance, you realize this is happening and I have to figure out how to move forward. So as you work through the stages of grief surrounding this new temporary world we're living in, then you've got to figure out how am I going to move forward? This is what's happening. The coronavirus is out there. This is what's happening. And um, how are we going to proceed? How am I going to move forward? And that's where you end up, that's where the power lies. So if you can work through the stages and work towards accepting it, then a lot of your kind of anxieties about it will hopefully help. We will get better over time. Jenny, I know you worry about her when she leaves, but I know she's being careful. She's probably washing her hands a lot and she's staying far away from people if she can, that sort of thing. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about is that what can you do? There are some things that are within your control and some things that are not within your control. Um, Things that you've heard a million times. Washing your hands anytime that you have been out of the house. It's always good to wash your hands when you're in your house too, often. But washing your hands when you go to a new place, when you are exposed to other people, staying 6 feet away from people if at all possible. Um, Not going anywhere if you absolutely don't have to go there. So before you leave the house, is this absolutely essential that I go this place and see these people? Or can I stay home and make do? Um, so Jenny, let's not worry about that yet. We will find a way to get you guys cap and gown pictures even if we don't come back to school. But we're not going to worry about that yet. That's too far in the future. They will find a way to get them to you. And a lot of the things that are end of the year senior stuff, those things haven't been decided yet. So hopefully they'll still happen, but if not, we'll figure it out. You guys will get your pictures. So let's see here. So what else can you do other than do it once you have socially distanced as much as you can socially distance? You're washing your hands. If you feel sick, you're staying home. You're calling your doctor. Don't rush to the doctor or the emergency room. If you're feeling sick, call them first because hospitals and doctors' offices are being overwhelmed by people who are like, well, could this be something? Yeah, George, I know you'd be happy if we didn't come back to school at all. I know. It must feel weird to know that I wish we were back in school today. I wish the whole school was filled with loud chaos and all of that. Yeah. Bring on the chaos. But yeah, George is happy. So he's not following the stages of grief, right? You're just cheering everybody on. You're just throwing a party and we're all sad. Okay, let's see here. So any other tips that you guys have heard about what you can do during this time, other than the normal things that we've talked about? Now, they've said that don't worry about getting a mask, that masks don't help and don't help as much to avoid contact. And the problem they're having is they don't have enough masks for hospitals and doctors. So don't scrounge around for masks. But it can feel good to find a way to give back. If you're sitting at home and feeling helpless and say, gosh, I wish I could help those around you. Do you know an elderly person who could use help going to the grocery store? Maybe they can use one of those pickup apps where they can order and pay for it already, and you guys could go pick up the groceries for that elderly person and maybe leave it on their doorstep. Are there kids in your neighborhood and maybe in your family that need help with their schoolwork and you can help them with that? If you find that helping people makes you feel better, which a lot of people do, which I do, I love helping people, that's a good way that you guys can find a sense of control. If you can help others, then that helps you feel better usually. So let me get rid of this notification. That way I can see. Okay, George is chilling, creating art and just enjoying not being in school, right? George is living his best life. So once you've done everything that is within your control, the rest of it you kind of have to let go. If you can't control when none of us can control when this virus ends, when life will return back to normal. We can't control when school starts back. So we just kind of have to let go of that and know that we don't have control over that. Um, so, what do you do when you have anxious thoughts? And this has probably happened to everyone. I know it happens to me where you wake up in the middle of the night and you're staring at the ceiling and all of these what ifs go through. What if this happens? What if that happens? Maybe it's not in the middle of the night, maybe in the middle of the day and it's quiet in your house and you don't have any distractions and you're thinking, well, what happens if this doesn't end by this date or, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I agree, Jenny. Most people say, they school sounds like fun now that you say you can't come. When you're in school, you're like, gosh, I just wish I could be home. But now they say can't come to school, suddenly school has more appeal. So if you have anxious thoughts that you're having a hard time coping with, the what ifs, the uncertainty, um, it's best not to ignore those thoughts because, for one, it's not possible to ignore those negative thoughts, those anxious thoughts. It's just not possible. And it could be painful to try to force yourself to forget those negative thoughts and push them out of your mind. So, one tip that this article mentions is that if you find balance in your thinking, it can help. So, when you think of a worst image, this could possibly happen because of the coronavirus. Balance that with, okay, but this is the best outcome from this virus. So, balance it. If you're worried, this could happen because I don't have a job right now. My job's been downsized. Then what's the best possible outcome for, oh, I, might find a job or, I might get the stimulus money package, package money. Balance a worst case scenario thought with a best case scenario. Um, that might help. And neither thought, the good thought or the bad thought, should be ignored, but neither should dominate. If you only think of the best possible outcome for every single thing, you may set unrealistic expectations. And when that outcome maybe doesn't happen exactly the way you pictured it, you may find the disappointment kind of makes you backtrack. So when you think of a worst possible image, think of a best possible image and just let those balance each other out. Don't let either one kind of take over and dominate. That may be helpful. Um, let's see. You haven't been Jenny has not been leaving the house. You want to? Yeah, I know. It's best, yeah, exactly. When you worry, if I go out and I bring it home, then not only could you get sick, but you could make other people sick. So it's really best to stay home if you can, all possible. This morning, my husband was tired and he said, I really need soda with caffeine. Let's stop by Sheets on our way to school. I said, no, let's not stop by Sheets because hundreds of people stop by Sheets every day. Let's just grab a soda out of the vending machine at school because a lot fewer people touch the vending machine at school. So if you don't have to go out, don't go out because then you may regret it at some point. You'll never regret erring on the side of safety, but you may regret going out somewhere and getting sick. My husband's having a hard time with staying at home all the time because usually he likes to go to the movies or he likes to go see baseball games. And he is definitely grieving the lack of sports right now. So we had the idea where he can take drives. Right now, we're still allowed to leave our house. So he's going to take drives. The only thing is he can't stop anywhere. So, and if he stops for gas, you have to use hand sanitizer when you're done. So he's just going to take drives and maybe pack a lunch, stop somewhere nice and eat lunch and then drive back just to give him a sense of getting out of the house and having something to do. So, that is another option. Luckily, gas prices are super cheap and nobody has anywhere to go. um, and man, flights are so cheap right now. You can fly anywhere in the world really cheap, except you can't go anywhere. So there's some irony for you. So let's see. Other things you can do if you're feeling anxious. With anticipatory grief, you're worrying about the future, grieving something before it's really happened, or the thought of having to grieve one day, to calm yourself, try to come back to the present. When my mind is always worrying about well, what if this happens? How would I handle that? And it's not always in a very anxious way, but just I'm always thinking about how I would handle a situation. So to calm yourself, you can bring yourself back to the present. Think about just this very moment, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, this very moment. And to bring yourself back to the moment, you can practice something called mindfulness. Look around the room and just name 5 things that are in the room. There's a bottle of Windex, there's a green pom pom, there's a world map, um, there's a stack of desks. How many is that? I think that's 4. um, and there is a magic 8 ball. So that brings me back to the future. I mean, yeah, brings me. I was thinking of the movie Back to the Future, which my husband loves, by the way. Back to the present. So if you stay in the present, that helps you from being anxious about anticipatory grief. Um, Other things you can do if you're feeling anxious is try some breathing exercises. And there's a Calm app. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the app. I think it's just Calm. That like 20 seconds or 30 seconds, it can lead you through some calming activities, that breathing techniques and that sort of thing if you need to calm down. Yes, you can rap about it. That's a really good way to do it, George. I have no rapping skills whatsoever, so I cannot rap about it, but I'll leave that to you. Um, Finding a creative outlet for your worries, your anxieties, your stresses, your fears, whether it's rapping, whether it's drawing, whether it is journaling. Um, uh, hey, Caesar, I'm glad you're here. Um, so it took me a second. I had to realize who that was. The smiley gave it away. So being creative is a great way to channel your anxieties. Keeping a journal. And this actually could be a really helpful historical thing right now. If you get a journal, one of the cheap 50-cent composition notebooks, or just some scrap paper lying around your house, keep a journal of what life is like right now, because in the future, when all of this is done, um, people might find this interesting. What was surviving a social distancing coronavirus pandemic? What was it like? What were the day-to-day activities? How did it change your life? And journaling about that and writing it all down may help you cope with it, cope with your thoughts. But drawing, if you're artistic, picking up new hobbies. Jenny's learning how to knit. How's that going, Jenny? Um, Finding something to do, finding a creative outlet for your feelings and your thoughts right now is an excellent idea. I find staying busy helps me. So even if it's, I don't know, doing really boring, annoying chores around the house, just staying busy, cleaning and cooking and that sort of thing helps me not feel so anxious. Um, so let's see what else. Um, I don't know. What else can you guys think of? Anything else you want to talk about? But pretty much we have to let go of what we can't control, and what we do have control over, find ways to feel prepared. Once you've done everything you can control, once you have taken the steps that the CDC is recommending that you do to avoid coronavirus, once you have helped your family prepare as much as they can prepare, you've done everything. So it is what it is, and try to stay in the moment and talk to people. If you're still struggling with this, um, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to your guidance counselors. They're still here, and you can also reach them by email. Reach out to your friends and family. Um, none of us are going through this alone. All of us have to find a way to cope with this temporary normal that we have right now. But it's going to be temporary. I'm glad your knitting is still going well, Jenna. You picked it up really quickly. Let me know when you need more yarn, because I have a ton of it. I'm lucky enough to have an aunt that gives me tons of yarn. Um, yeah, with knitting, when you learn how to knit, there is a phase you go through where you just want to throw it across the room because it's so hard and your hands haven't been used to working in that way for a while. So once you get past the point of wanting to throw it across the room, it gets much easier and actually becomes enjoyable after a while. But I should have brought the magic 8 ball over here. Do you guys have any questions you want to ask the magic 8 ball? School appropriate questions? Let me go grab the magic 8 ball. Scoop my desk out. All right. Think of the questions. All right. You have to ask the magic 8 ball a yes or a no question, or a question that can be answered with a yes or no. Anyone have a question? Let's see. Maybe I'll ask it something. Will my yard still be muddy tomorrow? I know, very boring question, but I couldn't think of anything else. Outlook good. All right, awesome. Maybe I'll get to clean out the chicken coop tomorrow. Let's see. Will my kids have done the dishes when I get home today? Without a doubt. I don't think Magic 8 Ball is right about that one. All right, let's see here. Oh, Jenny is drawing more and learning to paint on canvas. Fantastic. Wow, you guys are so talented. I would love to see some pictures, Jenny, when you're done with that. I have no drawing ability whatsoever. I can make stuff, but I can't draw it unless you want to see a stick figure. But the other day I was taking some extra wool that I had, and I was found a tutorial online and made an angel out of it. It's kind of cool. I'll show you guys pictures at some point. Okay, Jenny wants to ask the Magic 8 Ball, are we going back to school? Are you going to be specific about when, or just in general, are we going back to school? Let's see. Are we going back to school? As I see it, yes. Okay, do you want to ask it a more specific question? So Magic 8 Ball says, well, yes, we are going back to school. Let's give her a minute to type. So Easter egg hunts are going to look a little different, I think, for Easter. We have to socially distance. Maybe everyone's going to have their own Easter egg hunt. My chickens lay enough eggs. We'll just every day feel like an Easter egg hunt. I have one chicken that refuses to lay eggs in the nesting box. So I have to crawl under the roosts every day to get her green egg out of the shavings at the bottom of the coop. It's very annoying. I think she's one of the new hens, one of the ones that we hatched. And I guess, I don't know, she's just not very bright. I don't know. Did anyone drop her on her head when you guys were holding the chicks when we had them in my classroom? Did someone drop her on her head? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe someone dropped her on the head. Okay, Jenny wants to know, will Mrs. Miller give me one of her chickens? Okay, will I give Jenny one of her chickens? One of my chickens. Most likely. Wow, your grandma would be thrilled to have a chicken in the house. By the way, they poop a lot. They're very dusty, and they make a lot of noise. A lot of people think roosters are the loud ones. Not really. They crow every once in a while, but chickens are constantly making noise. So warn your grandma. You and your chicken may be living in the backyard before long. Okay, so Jenny wants to know, will we return to school on May 15th? Oh no, I'm not gonna read that. You'll be sad. It says don't count on it. I'm gonna ask it again. All right, Magic 8 Ball, stop playing with me. Are we going back to school on May 15th? You may rely on it. Yay, I like that answer better. It says yes. So anyway, well, anything else you guys want to talk about before I go? At 12:30, we have a staff meeting on Zoom. So that should be interesting. There are not a lot of teachers at school right now. So Mr. Craddock has told everybody, unless they really want to be here, then they should stay at home and work from home. But I like having a reason to get out of my pajamas each day. So my husband and I are choosing to come to school every day. So I spend a lot of my time in the band room. While he's doing work, I work online. We're here from 10-ish to 2-ish, depending on the day. But school is still open for free meals each day. And some of the rec centers are giving out evening meals, and the K&W cafeteria are giving away free takeout meals right now to students. I think between 11 and 1. So if you look up K&W cafeteria student meals on Google, you should be able to find their news story. But if you guys need more information about that, let me know. K&W cafeteria may have better food than school lunch. I don't know. But if that's all you can think of? That's all I can think of for now. Tomorrow, if the weather's nice, I'll try to do my live stream from home in the afternoon. Hopefully by then my internet issues at home will be all squared away. So maybe we'll have some chickens in the background for a live stream. So um, yeah, warn your grandma that you're getting a chicken. You're gonna have to have a coop for it, and you're gonna have to keep it away from predators. And oh, by the way, chickens get lonely when they're by themselves, so you're gonna need more chickens. Um, so I don't know that your grandma's gonna like that much. Okay, good. Yes, if we don't go back to school on May 15th, we're all blaming the magic 8 ball and Jenny's question because I just asked your question. I did not think of it myself. So, all right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I like when you guys write comments and it feels like we're having more of a conversation instead of me just rambling aimlessly like a crazy person. But all right, you guys, I love you. Have a wonderful day. And I will talk to you later. Bye.